Welcome, chosen ones. The loudest form of admiration is imitation, but it's also the most desperate. Chosen ones, you've always been different, not just for the way you think or move through the world, but for the light you carry within you. It's not arrogance, it's the quiet confidence of knowing who you are, even when others don't understand it. And let's face it, some people didn't just misunderstand you, they took you for granted. But the moment you left, everything changed. Suddenly they started mimicking your energy, your ideas, your essence. Why? Because your absence revealed the truth. You were the source. Now everyone sees it. Their imitation is a silent confession of your impact, your originality, and their lack of it. This is your power as a chosen one. You set the tone and others follow. But don't get caught up in their games. Use this as fuel to keep evolving, keep thriving, and keep leading from a place of authenticity. Watch this video to understand why your light can't be duplicated and how to use it to rise even higher. Number 1. They're the prequel, you're the sequel. They might be getting some attention now, but let's be real, they're just the prequel. The beginning of the story, the setup. The thing is, no one's actually excited about the prelude. They're all waiting for the next chapter, the real story to unfold. And no matter how much they try to fill the gap, no matter how many attempts they make to be you, they'll never hold the weight of your narrative. You're the sequel, the continuation of something deeper, something with real impact and substance. They might capture a few eyes, but it's only temporary. People are always more interested in what comes next, the main event. While they try to stall in the wings, pretending they're the lead, you're the one everyone's actually waiting for. They can't compete with the depth of your journey, the struggles you've overcome, or the growth you've experienced. In the end, they'll never be the story everyone's invested in. They're just a side note, a temporary diversion. Your path is the one that's meaningful. It's the sequel that people are eager to see because it's built on something real. They might try to fill the role, but they'll always be playing in your shadow, stalling until they realize the audience has already moved on to the next chapter of your life. Number 1, imitation is their last attempt to fill the void you left. When you left, you didn't just exit their life, you took something they didn't even realize they depended on, your originality. You were the spark that brought clarity to their chaos, the silent force shaping their identity while they barely acknowledged it. But the moment you walked away, they found themselves standing in the shadow of their own inadequacy. Their world felt hollow, and instead of facing that emptiness head-on, they chose the quickest fix. They started acting like you. This isn't flattery, it's a frantic attempt to maintain relevance. They thought they could replicate your magic as if wearing your personality like a costume would fill the void you left behind. But everyone can see through it. People notice when someone's behavior shifts overnight, when they suddenly start walking, talking, or even dreaming like the person they once dismissed. Their mimicry is like a neon sign flashing their desperation, screaming to the world that they're nothing without the energy you used to bring. The truth is, imitation is all they have left. It's their last-ditch effort to hold on to the influence you had in their life. But here's the catch. What you gave them wasn't something they could steal. Your originality came from within, from a place they can't reach because it's uniquely yours. So don't let their mimicry frustrate you. Let it be a reminder of the power you hold. The void they're trying to fill, that's your impact. And while they're busy pretending, you're out there evolving, becoming even greater. Let them imitate all they want. It's a reflection of their dependence on you and a testament to the one thing they'll never have, your authenticity. Number 2. Your aura is irreplaceable, but they'll try anyway. They might think they can recreate what you brought into their lives, but they're wrong. Your aura is not something that can be pieced together with mimicry or surface-level changes. Sure, they might adopt your style, mirror your mannerisms, or even echo the words you once said. But what they fail to realize is that your essence, the thing that made you unforgettable, goes far deeper than appearances. Your energy wasn't about trying to impress anyone. It wasn't crafted to fit into a mold or gain approval. It was raw, unfiltered, and unapologetically real. That's why people gravitated toward you. even if they didn't fully understand why. It wasn't something you had to explain. It was simply who you were. And now, as they try to replicate it, the cracks in their performance are glaringly obvious. Everyone around them sees it for what it is, an attempt to cover up the void you left behind. The problem is, their version of you feels hollow. It's like they're playing a role they don't understand, a character they can't embody because they lack the depth and authenticity that made you, you. What they don't realize is that your aura came from within, your experiences, your values, your perspective on the world. It's not something that can be copied because it was never about what you wore or how you moved. It was about the fire that burned inside you. So while they try to fill your shoes, you've already moved on to bigger and better things. Let them try. They'll only prove to everyone just how irreplaceable you truly are. Your essence is beyond their reach, and no imitation, no matter how well rehearsed, can ever come close to the real thing. Number 3. Their new persona is a walking tribute to you. When someone undergoes a sudden transformation after losing you, it's not subtle, it's glaringly obvious. They start adopting traits they once overlooked in you, maybe even criticized, as if wearing those traits will somehow elevate them to your level. But here's the catch. Everyone around them can see exactly what's happening. Their new persona isn't growth, it's a performance. And it screams one thing loud and clear: I'm trying to become what I wasn't strong enough to appreciate. The irony is hard to ignore. They're now embodying the very qualities they couldn't handle in you: the independence, the confidence, the unique way you moved through life. It's as if your absence flipped a switch, and they suddenly realized the value of what they lost. But instead of admitting it, they try to become it. The problem is, this kind of change doesn't feel authentic. People notice when someone starts acting out of character, especially when it's tied to the departure of someone significant. Their behavior feels forced, almost like they're overcompensating for the void you left behind. And the more they try to emulate you, the more they highlight just how much of their identity was tied to your presence. This tribute they're walking around with, it's not a compliment, it's a confession. It's their way of saying, without words, that you had an undeniable influence on them. But no matter how much they try to transform, they'll never embody the real thing. You were original, and they're just a reflection of what they think people admired about you. While they're busy trying to figure out who to be, you're already ahead, living authentically, and proving that the real thing can never be replaced. Number 4. They're trapped in your shadow. When you left, they had a choice: to grow into their own person or to cling to the version of themselves that only existed because of you. Instead of evolving, they chose the latter, and now they're stuck in a cycle of imitation that ties them to your shadow. They think adopting bits and pieces of your personality will keep them relevant, but all it does is highlight their dependence on you. What's tragic is that they could have used your absence as a turning point, an opportunity to find their own identity. But that takes courage, and courage isn't something you can borrow or fake. So instead, they settled for a distorted version of you, a poorly crafted replica that lacks the depth and originality of the real thing. This imitation doesn't elevate them, it diminishes them. It's like they're wearing a mask that everyone can see through. Their every move, every word, and every action serves as a reminder of the influence you had and the void they can't fill. They're stuck in your orbit, unable to break free because they've tied their identity to the person you used to be. Meanwhile, you've moved on. You're no longer the person they're imitating because you've grown, adapted, and reached new heights they can't even comprehend. While they're busy being a shadow of your past, you're living fully in the present, creating a future that's entirely your own. Their fixation only keeps them stagnant, forever chasing an image of you that no longer exists. Let them stay trapped while you soar higher. It's a reminder that you were always the source of inspiration, and they were just a reflection of your brilliance. Number 5. Their identity crisis becomes the talk of the town. When someone abruptly changes their behavior, adopting traits that clearly aren't their own, it's impossible not to notice. People pick up on it immediately because authenticity isn't something you can fake. the shift becomes a topic of conversation, and not in a good way. Those around them start to ask, what's going on with them? Who are they trying to be? Your departure created a ripple effect. Without your presence, they were left exposed, no longer able to hide behind the identity they built around you. Instead of using this as a chance to step into their own light, they panicked. Their solution: imitate the very person who left. But what they don't realize is that this act only draws more attention to the void you left behind. People aren't blind to the sudden transformation. They notice the awkward attempts to walk like you, talk like you, even think like you. And while they might not call it out directly, the whispers start. People can sense when someone is trying too hard, and this forced reinvention becomes a magnet for speculation. The more they try to embody you, the more obvious it becomes that they're struggling to find their footing without you. The irony is, they were likely banking on this new persona to boost their image, but it's having the opposite effect. Instead of admiration, they're earning side eyes and skepticism. They're no longer seen as someone authentic, but as someone who's desperately trying to fill shoes they were never meant to wear. While they become the center of gossip, you remain the center of admiration. Your authenticity is what made you unforgettable, and their attempts to replicate it only highlight their lack of it. Number 6. They can't recreate your presence with performance. Authenticity isn't something you can rehearse. It's not a role you play or a script you memorize. It's a reflection of who you truly are, and that's exactly what made you stand out. When you were in their life, your presence was magnetic. You didn't need to try. Your confidence, strength, and charisma flowed naturally, leaving a lasting impact on everyone around you. But now that you're gone, they've realized how much they relied on your energy to elevate their own. In their desperation to fill the gap, they've resorted to performance, adopting your behaviors, mimicking your mannerisms, and trying to recreate the effortless aura you carried. But here's the thing about performance. It's hollow. No matter how much effort they put into copying you, it will never feel real, because it's not coming from a place of truth. People around them notice it, even if they don't say it outright. The awkwardness of their act, the forced nature of their attempts, it all serves as a glaring reminder of what they lost. It's not just painful for them, it's obvious to everyone else. Their mimicry isn't seen as growth or transformation. It's a public confession of how much your presence shaped their identity and how lost they are without it. The more they try to imitate you, the more they highlight the uniqueness of what they let go. Your effortless charm and inner strength weren't things you picked up from someone else. They were yours, and that's the difference. While they're busy performing, you're thriving in your authenticity, proving that the real thing will always outshine even the most polished imitation. They can't recreate what you had because it wasn't something you did, it was who you are. Number 7. Your originality sets the standard. They can only follow. Your originality is what sets you apart. It's not just what you do, it's how you think, how you move, and how you create. You're not chasing trends or trying to fit in. You're setting the standard. You innovate, take risks, and move forward while others watch in awe, wondering how you do it. That's the power of authenticity. It's timeless, while imitation always feels like a desperate attempt to keep up. The ones trying to mimic you don't realize they're playing a losing game. By the time they've figured out how to copy your last move, you're already on to the next one. They're stuck in your rearview mirror, scrambling to adopt your ideas, your energy, and even your vision, thinking it will somehow keep them relevant. But what they fail to understand is that relevance isn't something you can fake. It's earned through originality and authenticity, two things they'll never master by following your shadow. Imitation might give them temporary attention, but it's never enough to sustain them. Trends fade. Personas built on someone else's identity eventually crumble. People see through it, and the admiration they're chasing becomes harder to hold on to. Meanwhile, you're not just relevant. You're evolving, growing, and staying true to yourself. Your originality isn't a phase, it's your essence. And while they waste their time trying to replicate what you've already done, you're breaking new ground, creating something fresh and undeniable. That's why they'll always be behind. Authenticity doesn't expire, and it can't be borrowed. You're the source, the blueprint, and they'll never match the real thing. Let them follow if they want. It only proves one thing: you lead, and they'll forever be chasing. Number 8, their need to be you screams their guilt. The fact that they're so desperately trying to be you says everything. Why would anyone go to such lengths to copy someone else unless they realized they'd lost something irreplaceable? They can try all they want to emulate your style, your mannerisms, your way of thinking, but deep down it's clear. They're not doing it because they admire you. They're doing it because they regret letting you go. It's like an unspoken apology they'll never admit. Their behavior is the closest they can get to acknowledging the mistake they made, but they won't ever actually say it out loud. Instead, they try to mirror your essence, as if by doing so, they can somehow erase the fact that they didn't value you when they had the chance. But it's a hollow performance. People aren't blind. They see right through it. The regret, the guilt, the realization that they messed up is all there, masked by a facade of imitation. This is their way of trying to undo what they can't fix. They know they lost something real, and no amount of mimicry can bring it back. The sad part is that everyone else sees it too. It's obvious when someone's actions don't match their true feelings. The more they try to be you, the more transparent their guilt becomes. They're trying to cover up their mistake, but in the process, they only highlight it. At the end of the day, their attempts to imitate you are just a reminder to everyone, and to themselves, that they lost something invaluable. And no performance, no matter how well executed, can change that. Number 9. They overlook the cost of borrowed brilliance. When they try to steal your persona, they're only focusing on the short-term gain, the attention they get from imitating what's already been proven to work. It might look like success for a while, but they're overlooking the most important cost: respect. They can copy your style, your mannerisms, and even your confidence, but the moment they do, they sacrifice their authenticity, the very thing that earns real respect. People admire the original, the one who isn't afraid to be themselves, to carve out their own path. Imitation might get them a few moments in the spotlight, but it never lasts. It's always obvious when someone is faking it, and that's what makes the difference. The respect they're so desperately trying to reclaim or earn. They lose it the minute they try to wear your persona like a costume. Respect isn't about surface-level traits, it's about substance. When you're real, when you stand firm in who you are, people recognize it, even if they don't say it out loud. But when someone constantly borrows from others, they expose their own insecurity and lack of originality. And no matter how convincing their imitation may be, they'll never earn the same level of respect as someone who's authentic and true to themselves. The borrowed brilliance they rely on can't sustain them. It only gets them so far before people start seeing through the act. What they fail to realize is that the respect they crave isn't something you can fake. It's something you earn by being unapologetically yourself. Number 10. Their mimicry highlights their dependence on you. By attempting to replicate you, they unknowingly expose just how much they depended on your presence to define who they are. Their mimicry isn't a sign of admiration. It's a glaring admission that without you, they struggle to hold on to a sense of self. Every time they try to imitate your mannerisms, your confidence, or your way of thinking, they're revealing the truth. Their identity was never truly their own. It was shaped by you. This reliance on your presence to shape their persona doesn't go unnoticed. To others, it becomes painfully obvious who the real source of influence was all along. It wasn't their own brilliance or individuality that made them stand out. It was the way you affected their life, the way your energy and originality rubbed off on them. Now, with you gone, they're scrambling to hold on to the only version of themselves they've ever known, which just happens to be a reflection of you. The more they try to replicate you, the clearer it becomes that they were always drawing from your well of inspiration, never filling their own. It's a silent acknowledgement of their inability to stand independently, and it's something everyone can see. Their imitation is an indirect confession that without you, they lack the foundation to build their own identity. And in that realization, they only confirm what everyone already knew. They were never truly their own person. They were always living in your shadow. Number 11. You've become their blueprint, but you've moved on. As they try to recreate the person you were, they fail to realize one critical truth. You're already evolving, moving forward in ways they can't even anticipate. While they're stuck looking backward, piecing together the fragments of who you used to be, you're already 5 steps ahead, shaping a version of yourself that's untouchable. They're not just copying an outdated version, they're building a foundation based on someone you've long outgrown. Their imitation is frozen in time, trying to capture a moment that's already passed. The irony is impossible to ignore. They're struggling to replicate your past, unable to keep up with the rapid transformation you're undergoing. They're stuck in the past, clinging to the remnants of what they knew of you, while you've long since moved on. Every attempt they make to mirror your old self only highlights the fact that they're stuck, still trying to catch up to who you were, when the truth is, you're someone entirely new now. Their imitation can't touch what you've become, because by the time they even get close, you're already far beyond it. They're chasing shadows, trying to keep pace with a version of you that no longer exists, and by doing so, they're exposing their own inability to move forward. While they struggle to build a replica of a person they think they knew, you're living proof that growth is constant, that change doesn't wait for anyone. They'll never catch up because they're too busy trying to follow a path that's already long behind you. Numbers 12. They think they're winning, but they're really just playing catch-up. They think they're winning, but the truth is, they're just playing catch-up. Every move they make in your direction only makes it clearer how far behind they actually are. They're so fixated on copying your style, your mannerisms, your vibe, that they've completely missed the point. It's never been about the surface-level things. You've already been down that path. They're simply chasing after something you've long moved past. The reality is, you've transcended the place they're trying to reach. You've outgrown it, evolved beyond it. So when they step into the lane you once occupied, it's not a victory for them. It's a sign that they're only winning because they've followed behind you, stepping into territory you've already left behind. They're still stuck in your old footsteps while you've already forged new paths. Their success is hollow because it's not truly theirs. It's built on imitation, on trying to replicate what you've already mastered and moved beyond. They might think they're gaining ground, but every step they take in your direction only highlights how far they still have to go. They're not winning. They're just running in circles, trapped in the wake of a person who's already left them behind. Number 13. The real tragedy? They'll never be chosen. The real tragedy, they'll never be chosen. No matter how much they try to wear your crown, no matter how hard they strive to replicate what you have, they'll never be chosen the way you were. People don't follow them because they have something authentic to offer. They follow them because, for a brief moment, they think they're catching a glimpse of you. They're drawn to the illusion, not realizing that what they're really following is a pale imitation. The truth is obvious to everyone, and deep down they know it too. They're not the chosen one. They're just a shadow, someone desperately trying to steal the spotlight, trying to pass off something borrowed as if it's their own. They might get attention for a while, but it's fleeting. It's built on a lie, and lies don't last. You were chosen because you embody something real, something people can feel in their bones. You didn't need to try to convince anyone of your worth. You became the chosen one through your authenticity, your power, and your journey. They'll never have that. They can mimic the surface, but they'll always fall short because they're missing the depth. They can't replicate what you are because what you are isn't something that can be copied. In the end, they're left clinging to your shadow while you continue to shine in your own light, unmatched, unshakable, and undeniably chosen. Listen, chosen ones, as we wrap up. The truth is, the moment you walked away, you unknowingly became the catalyst for their transformation. They've been trying to act like you, mimic your moves and follow your path because they realized deep down they couldn't stand on their own. But what they don't know is this: the very fact that they're trying to be like you shows how much impact you had on them. You were the standard they aspired to, proof that you're not just anyone but a chosen one. Your authenticity, your strength, and your ability to move on without looking back is what sets you apart. While they try to mirror your every step, they're missing the point. they'll never be able to replicate what you are, because what you have is a power they don't possess. You're constantly growing, evolving, and breaking new ground, while they're stuck in the past, replaying an outdated version of who you were. But here's the thing, you didn't just leave them behind. You left them with a lesson, a blueprint they're desperately trying to follow. And that, in itself, is proof of how impactful you are. You are the original, they are the copy, and that's the way it will always be. Keep moving forward, keep being unapologetically you, because as you evolve, so does the world around you, and the people who were once stuck in your shadow can only keep trying to catch up. You're the one who sets the pace, and everyone else is just trying to follow. Don't let that stop you. You are the chosen one, and your journey is just getting started. Keep leading. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now and stay blessed.